Dear Madam President, dear Roberta, dear members of the European Parliament, thank you for inviting me at today's plenary. The Republic of Cyprus has assumed the presidency of the Council of the European Union with immense pride and a deep sense of responsibility. Standing before you as the President of the Member State at the southeastern corner of the European Union and the only Member State under military occupation, I'm both humbled and proud. Humbled to stand at the House of European Democracy, the House that becomes the voice of the 450 million citizens of our Union, and by the responsibility that comes with addressing you at such a defining moment for Europe. I also stand before you with a deep sense of pride for the Union we have built, for the greatest political project the world has seen, the largest economic bloc and a global trade powerhouse, a political union of 27 states in which each member state stands equal and assumes the presidency of the Council, in which each and every member state can lead, can broker compromises and can represent the Union. And this holds the essence of the European project, not a union dictated only by size or power, but a union of equality, not a union that ignores differences, but one that transforms them into strength. Yes, our union is not perfect, but it is precisely its unique ability to evolve, particularly at times of crisis, that makes it stand out. Its ability to come together at times of great challenge in order to deepen European integration. That is what our founding fathers called for, an ever closer union as a constant call to us and to generations to come. As Robert Schuman reminds us, Europe will not be made all at once or according to a single plan. It will be built through concrete achievements which first create and de facto solidarity. And in that sense, our union is a solemn promise that keeps renewing itself, a promise that continues to inspire. It is the enduring power of our ideals, of respect of human rights, freedom, democracy, equality and the rule of law that make it the best place in the world to live. Our unity on the principles of international law, territorial integrity and national sovereignty. This is a union we must defend and fight for. And it is this union that my country, Cyprus, is honoured to serve during its presidency. Ladies and gentlemen, our presidency has begun at an inflection point for the Union, a moment of profound transformation. Europe is confronted with a rapidly evolving geopolitical and geoeconomic landscape characterized by unpredictability. The international order we relied upon for decades is no longer a given. War has returned to our continent with Russia's ongoing aggression against Ukraine. Instability persists in Cyprus's immediate region, the wider Middle East. People brutally murdered for calling out and fighting for freedom after decades of oppression. Fundamental principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity are being openly tested, violated, and trade tensions are mounting while strategic dependencies are weaponized. Climate change, migration pressures and technological advances are reshaping our societies. And yet, this is not the first time our Union has faced adversity. and each and every time Europe has stepped up. Time and again we chose cooperation over fragmentation, solidarity over isolation, and progress over retreat. And now is the time to do what us Europeans know how to do best: believe in our collective capacity to shape change and to become that change, to invest in deeper integration with urgency, to work to strengthen our network of free trade agreements, because Europe's competitiveness grows through openness, and defend our borders, our citizens, our European way. To those who question whether Europe beacon still burns brightly, we will answer with action. To those who seek to undermine our values and our unity, we will respond with resolve. Because, dear friends, the question before us is not whether the storm exists. We are long past that. The question is whether we will rise to this moment and once again formulate solutions, the European way. Honourable members, the decisions we make today will define the union we pass on to the next generation, to our children. This moment calls for action, decisive, credible and united action. It calls for a union that is more autonomous and open to the world, because autonomy, European independence, can no longer be a rallying cry. It is a natural next step in the evolution of European integration, and it demands building strength from within, and at the same time for outwardness. It calls for strength through partnership. A more autonomous union is one with the internal strength to cooperate whenever possible and act independently whenever necessary. A union that is secure, competitive, open and firmly anchored in its values, that draws legitimacy and strength from its citizens and from you as their representatives. That is why we have made it a priority to engage across the board more closely with the European Parliament, inviting representatives to join our high-level meetings in Cyprus. Dear friends, our Presidency programme is structured around 5 interconnected pillars. The first pillar is autonomy through security, defence and readiness. Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine on European soil has demonstrated the urgent need to strengthen the European security architecture and, of course, our defence readiness to build up, to build better. From our corner of the Union, as the Union's last member state that is under military occupation, it is absolutely clear what is at stake. Cyprus knows from its own experience what the lack of security means. We will stand firmly, unequivocally with Ukraine while supporting international efforts for a peace that is viable and lasting, fully in line with the UN Charter and with full respect for Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Ukraine is fighting for the principles that force cannot redraw borders in Europe, and if that principle fails, everything becomes negotiable, whether in Ukraine, in Greenland or anywhere else. So we must build a stronger European security architecture, and we must do so with urgency, including, of course, strengthening Arctic security. Let me be clear. We stand in full support and solidarity with Denmark and the people in Greenland. A more autonomous union must also be able to protect its citizens, its borders, its interests, and ultimately its values. Security today demands a 360-degree approach. It is defence readiness, readiness to defend ourselves against any form of coercion. And it is also military mobility, maritime and water security, economic security, migration management, cyber resilience, democratic resilience, crisis preparedness. In this regard, the swift implementation of the White Paper on the Future of European Defence and the Defence Readiness Roadmap 2030 is a priority. We will advance implementation of key defence initiatives and flagship projects such as the EU Defence Industrial Strategy and Programme, as well as the SAFE initiative. And we will work to strengthen EU-NATO cooperation in an inclusive, transparent and mutually beneficial manner. We are much more valuable to our partners if we are stronger. Maritime and water security deserve more of our attention. In the Mediterranean and beyond, security travels by sea, trade travels by sea, energy routes travel by sea. Freedom of navigation is therefore a strategic necessity, and that is why we will actively advance the European Union Maritime Security Strategy. Security also begins from within, by shielding our democracies from foreign interference, disinformation, hybrid threats and pressure on media freedom, strengthening law enforcement cooperation, tackling organised crime, terrorism and violent extremism. Effective migration management is another core dimension of our security. As a frontline member state, Cyprus will work towards addressing both internal and external dimensions, tackling root causes, strengthening cooperation with key third countries and ensuring full implementation on the Pact of Migration and Asylum. President Metsola, honourable members, the second pillar of our priority is autonomy through competitiveness. In today's world, only a more competitive Europe can be a more autonomous Europe. Economic strength and strategic strength go hand in hand. Europe faces intense geo-economic competition, strained supply chains and accelerating technological change. Our response must therefore be pragmatic, focused and firmly rooted in real economy. Competitiveness is the ability to invest, to innovate, to produce, to scale, to lead. We must make Europe faster, smarter, simpler. We must deliver more and better for our businesses and individuals. We must push a simplification agenda that reduces burdens in a balanced manner, especially for SMEs, the backbone of our economy. And we will work hand in hand with the European Parliament to conclude key files that cut red tape. But competitiveness is not only about removing obstacles, it is also about building capacity, completing and strengthening our single market, deepening the capital markets through the savings and investment union remains central to European integration. We will prioritise the modernisation of our industries, Europe's ability to innovate and produce the technologies of tomorrow, while advancing hand in hand the green and digital transitions. Dear friends, last year I visited the United States, from Silicon Valley to Houston and New York, to attract investment in key sectors. I was struck that in the greatest American companies, the talented human power were Europeans. We simply cannot afford to lose our talented young people. We need to create the conditions for them to return to business and innovate in Europe. Strengthening Europe's digital and energy autonomy is also a strategic imperative. This requires diversified supplier networks and routes, affordable and predictable energy prices, modern infrastructure and strong interconnections. Now is the time for a true energy union. Competitiveness must also be inclusive. It must benefit all regions, including island, peripheral and less connected areas. Connectivity is essential. Resilient ports, sustainable low-carbon production and strong agriculture and food systems are all integral for our competitiveness. Honourable members, an independent union is also a union open to the world. It is a union that engages with the world from a position of internal strength and confidence. Enlargement lies at the heart of this pillar. From Ukraine and Moldova to the Western Balkans and Turkey, enlargement remains the Union's most powerful and transformative geopolitical tool. It is a far beyond completing a map. It is about completing a vision of reunified Europe, firmly anchored in peace, democracy, security and stability. May 1st, 2004, the day my country acceded to the European Union, is forever engraved in my memory. The greatest historical moment for my country since independence. There was an overwhelming feeling of hope that there was no limit to the opportunity that membership brought. That promise was held true. EU accession has transformed my country, brought prosperity, safety, opportunity, and Cypriots hold on to the unfulfilled promise of reunification. European integration will never be complete with one of the Union's member states divided and under occupation, with Cypriots, Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots not allowed to enjoy the same fundamental rights that other Europeans enjoy. And we know very well that the European Union holds all the answers for a solution of the Cyprus problem. That is part of what makes enlargement so powerful, because the Union is above all a peace project, an enabler of security and stability, and we cannot afford to lose this renewed momentum in enlargement. We need to make it credible by delivering when our partners deliver. Our engagement with the southern neighbourhood and the Gulf, Cyprus's immediate region, is equally strategic. The new Pact for the Mediterranean provides a vital framework for cooperation, and we must complement with initiatives such as the India-Middle East corridor. At the same time, an open, robust and sustainable European Union trade policy through the expansion of the Union's network of trade agreements is vital. This includes deepening partnerships with key partners such as the United Arab Emirates and India, defending the rules-based multilateral trading system and ensuring the effective implementation of our agreements. And of course, we will continue engaging constructively with the United States on all issues of common interest, as well as with like-minded partners such as the UK. The fourth pillar of our priorities is a union of values that leaves no one behind. The European Union is not only a single market or a single currency. Europe is our values, and it is a promise that those values will be upheld. A promise that rights are protected, that opportunity is real, that democracy is defended, and that the rule of law is strengthened. And this promise must be felt in the daily lives of our citizens. Affordable housing has become one of the most pressing social challenges facing our society, and this means the Union must act. Cyprus will prioritise progress on the European Affordable Housing Plan, fully respecting subsidiarity and national competences. Children and young people will remain at the heart of our policies, tackling child poverty, ensuring access to high-quality early childhood education, and protecting minors from both online and offline threats will be priority. In this context, we look forward to advancing the European Action Plan against cyberbullying. A health union is also central to a more autonomous union. We will focus on improving access and availability of medical products, strengthening medical supply chains, and enhancing integration of our health systems. Honourable members, the next multiannual financial framework is where priorities meet reality, and it must become the vehicle through which the Union delivers on defence and security, competitiveness, sustainability, resilience and cohesion. This is our shared responsibility. This is our shared interest. We are committed to engaging constructively and transparently with all partners and institutions, with the European Parliament, in order to deliver a balanced, robust and ambitious framework for the Union's future. President Metsola, honourable members, Europe's future, our future, will ultimately be measured by our ability to act together. Unity is our greatest strength, and only by acting together across institutions and across member states we can translate unity into action. It was Robert Schuman who said, "Europe needs a soul, an ideal, and the political will to serve this ideal." Honourable members, we have the soul, we have the ideal, and we have the political will. We have what it takes. Let us get to work together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, President Christodoulides.